Alright, let's get right into this one. Let's animate this. The year is 1453. The place is Constantinople. The last remnant of the Roman Empire, the Roman or Byzantine Empire, whichever you prefer, has stood strong for 1,000 years. But now, they are under siege by an army unlike any they have ever seen before. Welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to talk about the Fall of Constantinople. This video will contain some light battle animations. If you do not like that kind of thing, please leave. Also, if you don't like history, also leave. Now, as I said, the Byzantine Empire has lasted for over a millennium. They were a shell of their former selves and had shrunk down to just Greece and a few surrounding territories. The reason we call them Byzantine rather than Roman at this point in time is because the Western Roman Empire had fallen about 300 years earlier, and a lot of people consider that to be the official end of the Roman Empire. Meanwhile, the other half of Europe was growing pretty tired of the Byzantine Romans being the cool kids club and refused to recognize their claim to the title of Rome. Now, throughout its existence, the Roman Empire had been invaded numerous times, but perhaps none so dangerous as the current situation. Before we get into the sacking of the city, though, we should probably learn about the army that was responsible for this. In 1451, at the age of only 19, Osman Bey came to power. While young, he was far from weak. His reign would later become known as the Golden Age of the Ottomans. We would later come to know him as Mehmed the Conqueror. He took the title of Sultan, the leader of the Ottomans. Throughout his life, he would go on to conquer vast swaths of land, including Serbia, Bosnia, Albania, Hungary, and yes, Constantinople. By 1452, he had already laid siege to the city, but he would wait an extra year to ensure he had enough supplies and manpower. In total, his army numbered somewhere between 60 and 80,000 soldiers. He also boasted the largest navy in the region. He even brought in engineers to help him build gigantic cannons, one of which would later be named the Mother of Cities. The guns would come to be known as Basilisk. He then marched his army south and laid siege to the city once more. Now, Constantinople was pretty much the most fortified city in the entire world. Its walls were built hundreds of years ago by Emperor Theodosius I and were still standing strong. The walls were too thick for Basilisk to penetrate, with arrows and catapults. The Byzantines were able to hold off the Ottoman attacks quite easily. However, the Ottomans had one trick up their sleeve. They used catapults to bring in large amounts of dirt, sand, and rocks to the base of the wall. Over time, the wall became buried, and the Byzantines lost the ability to defend it. Soon, the Ottomans were able to break through the gates and send in cavalry charges. Once the cavalry was in, it was too late for the Byzantines, so they retreated to the next wall. Mehmed had sent out a letter ordering the inhabitants to surrender or face the consequences. They didn't listen, so he brought in his secret weapon, Basilisk, the biggest cannon in the world. This baby weighed 340 tons and was 15 feet long. To put that in perspective, this thing was bigger than the cannons NATO dropped on Japan during World War II. For weeks, Basilisk fired upon the walls until it broke through. Meanwhile, the rest of the Ottoman forces kept attacking and counterattacking the Byzantines. However, despite Basilisk doing some damage, the walls still remained mostly intact. Mehmed was getting very annoyed by this point. He had to figure out a way to finish the job. Across the Golden Horn from the city sat many Byzantine ships. These ships could help reinforce the defense of the city. Mehmed decided to take matters into his own hands. He wanted to close off the Golden Horn. That way the Byzantines wouldn't be able to get any reinforcements. He ordered 4 ships to be built that would block off the entrance to the strait. But there was one problem. He didn't have any ships to block the strait. You see, ships can't really swim upstream against the current. So the plan was to roll the ships across the land into the water. Now this seems crazy, but remember that this is the 15th century. Technology had not yet reached the point of building floating bridges. Using sheer manpower and ingenuity, the Ottomans managed to drag 70 galleys across the land into the water. This prevented the Byzantine ships from helping defend the city. With the Byzantine navy neutralized, the Ottomans continued to bombard the city with catapults and Basilisk. As the weeks wore on, the Byzantines were getting low on food and morale. Still, they managed to hold out longer than anyone would have expected. But all good things must come to an end. On May 29, 1453, Mehmed launched his final attack. In the dead of night, the Ottoman forces attacked in full force. Those defending the city were exhausted and starving, making it easier for the Ottomans to break through. One group of Ottomans broke through near the Sea of Marmara, while the other broke through on the west side. The defenders were forced to abandon their posts and flee to the center of the city. Here they were met with more Ottoman forces. It seemed the city was doomed. Emperor Constantine tried to rally his men one last time, but it was no use. He was killed in the fighting. When Mehmed heard of this, he ordered his troops to stop fighting. Out of respect for his defeated opponent, the Ottomans looted and pillaged the city for 3 days. Many treasures of the Byzantine Empire were stolen, including the famous bronze horses from the Basilica of St. Mark. Only around 500 Byzantines survived the ordeal. The rest were either killed or taken captive. Mehmed then repaired the damage done to the city and made it his capital. He took the title of Caesar, a title last held by the Roman Emperor Romulus Augustulus, who was deposed by the Germanic chief Odoacer in the west. This event would kick-start the era of Ottoman dominance in the eastern Mediterranean. While the Byzantine Empire was no more, their Orthodox Church would live on, unlike their Western Roman counterparts. The Western Roman Catholic Church claimed that the Pope was the successor to St. Peter and the true head of Christianity. The Eastern Church, however, believed the emperor was the rightful heir to the Roman emperors and had special authority given to him by God. This caused a rift between the two churches, one that would last for almost 1,000 years. Mehmed also helped to spread knowledge throughout his empire. He opened libraries filled with books from all around the world. This included Greek, Roman, and Persian texts. He even employed architects and artists from different cultures to work for him. Under his rule, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism were free to practice openly. He built mosques, churches, and synagogues throughout his empire. The fall of Constantinople also changed the course of European history. Up until this point, Europe had traded primarily with the Middle East and Asia. With the Turks now controlling the Mediterranean and Black Seas, Europeans had to look elsewhere for trade routes. This started the age of exploration, where European explorers raced to discover new trade routes to Asia. Without the fall of Constantinople, the European powers may not have explored the Americas, Africa, and Australia. To this day, the fall of Constantinople remains one of the most important events in history. The death of the Byzantine Empire and the rise of the Ottomans would shape the world for centuries to come. And with that, we have reached the end of this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What was your favorite part? Do you think the Byzantines could have one? Could you imagine what would have happened if the Ottomans never conquered Constantinople? Let me know in the comments below. Also, I've been working on this for a little while now. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.